Hello there, Mr. Sutton here, bringing you the IM3 Honors 1-1 Part 1 homework solutions on domain, range, and functions. To find the domain on number 1 here, we need to go from the left to the right. So we have -5 on the left, solid dot on 4 at the right. So that's going to be bracket -5, comma 4, bracket, because we have the function existing at those endpoints. For range, we're going from the bottom to the top, solid dots on both ends, so we've got bracket -3, comma 4 with a bracket. Next, for whether it's a function or not, we're using the vertical line test. Is there anywhere we can draw a vertical line where it touches the graph twice? As we move across here, we see that there is not. So this passes the function test, the vertical line test. It is a function. And then for increasing intervals, we're increasing from, let's see, -5 until we get to about -2. And then also from roughly 1 to 4. So -5, comma -2, union 1, comma 4. And then for decreasing intervals, from -2 down to 1 is the only decreasing interval, and there's no constant intervals. For the domain on number 2 here, we're going from -5 at the left, solid dot, so bracket, to 3 at the right, also a solid line, so a bracket, so -5, comma 3. For the range, we're going from -3 on the bottom to +3 on top, both brackets because of the solidness. For whether or not this is a function, we can draw a vertical line pretty much anywhere over here. So since we have the same x value giving back multiple y values, this fails the vertical line test. It's not a function. And since it's not a function, we don't have to worry about those other intervals. For the domain on number 3, we're going from -2 on the left to +2 on the right. Those are both open dots, so we're going to have to use parentheses instead of brackets for that. For the range, we're going from -3 at the bottom to +2 on top. At the bottom, -3, that's solid, so we're going to have a bracket on -3 and a parentheses on 2 at the top. For whether it's a function, there's nowhere we can draw a vertical line that touches twice, so this is a function, passes the function test. For intervals of increasing, we're increasing from 0 to 2 for x values, so 0, comma 2. Decreasing intervals from -2 down to 0. And there's nowhere it's constant. There's no flat horizontal lines, so we're done. For the domain on number 4, we have an open dot at -4 on the left. And as we move to the right, we're going forever. So that would be infinity. Since we have an open dot on the left, that's a parentheses on the -4, comma, infinity. For the range, we're going down forever, so we're starting with -infinity. And we're going up until we get to +3 for the y values. Since that's an open dot, that is going to be a parentheses up there. So -infinity, comma 3 for range. For whether it's a function, there's nowhere we're going to be able to draw a vertical line that touches the graph twice. It passes the vertical line test and is a function. For increasing, decreasing, or constant, this is not increasing anywhere as we move to the right. As we move to the right, we are only decreasing, and we're decreasing from -4 down to +infinity. And no increasing intervals, no constant intervals. For the domain on number 5, we're going left forever, even though it's a very steep slope, and we're going right forever. So -infinity to +infinity is our domain. For the range, we're going down forever and up forever, and everywhere in between is filled in, so we have the same thing for the range, all real numbers for both of these. For functions, there's no place we can draw a vertical line that touches twice, so this passes the vertical line test and is a function. Increasing, we're increasing from -infinity on the far left until we get to 0, and then we're increasing again from 2 to +infinity. So we have 2 different intervals where we are increasing. Decreasing, we're only decreasing on this one spot between 0 and +2, so that's our decreasing interval, and we're not constant anywhere. For the domain on number 6, we have a solid endpoint at -2 on the left, and the farthest we can go to the right is 3, also solid. So bracket -2, comma 3 bracket. For range, we can go as far down as -4 and as far up as 2, both brackets on that because they're solid dots. For whether or not it's a function, it's not, because we've got a vertical line that we can draw that touches the graph twice. So that fails the vertical line test, and we're done. For number 7, for the domain, it's pretty clear as we go to the left, we're going left forever. So that's -infinity, comma something. Now, I think there's some room for debate on how far right we're going. If we get into kind of further mathematics, when we learn about asymptotes and things like that, it kind of looks like this is approaching but never quite getting to the x value 2. But I think you could also, without seeing anything else on here, make an argument that maybe this is just a very steep slope that keeps going right. I'm going to call this negative to positive infinity, but I think you could make an argument for -infinity, comma 2 if you wanted. For the range, there's no argument. We're going down forever and up forever. So -infinity to positive infinity. For whether or not this is a function, there's nowhere we can draw a vertical line where it touches twice. It comes close, but not quite. So this is a function. It passes the vertical line test. In terms of intervals of increase and decrease, as we move to the right, this thing is always, always, always decreasing. So from negative to positive infinity, I think you could argue, is our decreasing interval, and there's no increasing or constant intervals on this. For number 8, on the domain, this one's a little trickier than the others. We're clearly going left forever and right forever. So we're beginning and end at infinity and ending at infinity, negative and positive infinity. But there's this x value 2 that we can never quite get to. As we go down, as we go to the left, either way, we can't really touch this. This is a vertical asymptote, and it's not part of the domain. So our domain is going to be -infinity, comma 2, both parentheses, and then 2, comma positive infinity with a little union in there. Now for the range, this is another asymptote that we have on the x-axis. We're getting closer and closer, but never quite touching there. Same thing as we go in this direction. So we're going from -infinity to 0, union 0, comma positive infinity for the range. For whether or not it's a function, this passes the vertical line test. There's nowhere you can draw a vertical line that touches twice. So this is a function. And this little dashed line here, this is not actually part of the graph. This is just kind of a guideline for telling us where the graph is heading. Now for intervals of decrease, we're decreasing from -infinity down to 2, which we can never quite touch. But then when we get to the other side of 2, we're still decreasing to positive infinity. So our domain and our decreasing interval are actually going to be one and the same. This is not increasing anywhere, it's not constant anywhere, so we're done with this one.